Okay, guys, welcome to the day 14 of Python Programming Bootcamp. Today, we will be learning more about the advanced topics in object oriented programming. As Kushal has undertaken the object oriented programming basic for you guys, he has introduced you guys to what the class keyword is, what objects are, attributes, methods, inheritance, polymorphism, etc. Right? So let's get started on inheritance. I'll be taking it further into multiple level inheritance or multiple inheritance. Okay. Before that, I'll ask once again, just to refresh your memory, what was the thing called as init? Okay. Init is also a special function which we will talk about later. Init and something and others similar to it are called Dunder or magic functions. Okay. What init does it's used to initialize the attributes of an object. It is a method in itself and it's used to initialize the attributes of an object. Okay, so there are two things that we see whenever we make a class. This is that init and this self. So what exactly does self mean? What self does, it finds the right set of attributes and apply and methods to apply to an object. Okay, so let's start here and then I'll tell you what exactly does that mean. Okay. Okay. I have a base class here called as library. I assigned it and told you that okay, this library has four rooms. Okay. And initialize this attribute to my library base class. Now I created a thriller section inside of a library which would be inheriting its rooms from library, right? The base class. So I take it as the derived class from library. Now that its type would be thriller, it's let's say it has 200 books. Now I have initialized its attributes here, the types, the books. Now I've created another attribute called as damaged. Okay. Now what do I do with this damaged thing later on? See, another. I created another function here which tells me that the damage thing, what does it do is uh, it tells you that there are 200 books in my thriller section and out of which the 5% of those are damaged, so I can refurbish them. This is my refurbish function, and this I'll tell okay these many books are damaged, so please repair those. Okay, then next I created a section of marvel. Okay, and this marvel section I said that the type would be action, as mostly superhero comics are, right? And I'll say it has around 100 comics. Now, I created its initial attributes, the type, the comics, then I initialized it with an attribute called as latest. I gave its initial value 0, and I said that the sales would be dependent on the latest comics. So I said that 20% of the comics would be latest and the sales will depend on that. Now, keep in mind that thriller and marvel are both derived from the light class. Now, I'll say that there is another class that I want to create which will inherit properties from both thriller and marvel. Okay, so I created one class here. Okay, what does it do now? What it does is it creates an instance P of the class hybrid, which will inherit properties from Marvel, from Thriller, and from Lib. Why will it inherit properties from Lib? Because Lib was inherited by Thriller and Marvel. Okay, hence its whole trajectory is created of inheritance, that it will be inheriting properties from here, here, and here. I gave its initial values such as the books would be say 40, the comics would be 90, and so on and so on. Okay, I created my instance, I printed out my values, it came as 40 and 90. Alright, now I had created a sales function right here inside Marvel, right? Right. And apart from these books and comics, each of these thriller and Marvel that had different was this latest and damaged thing. Let's see what is my latest and damaged prints. Prints out 0 as I had given it the initial values as such. Alright, now what if I call in a function? I'd created this function, right? This sales and that refurbished function. So what will happen when I'll call these function? That is the thing. I'll call it. Okay, so let's do this one function, the sales function. I created the sales function. Alright. What do you guys think will be the output for this parent p dot sales? And after I initialize this p dot sales function, I'll again call in my latest value. Okay. 18.0 and none. See, this sales function is returning nothing. See, right? There is nothing returned here. If I do this, return sales invoked, then I'll get something as an output. But when I had not returned anything, it was giving me the none type because there was nothing that was being returned there, right? Okay. Now, what does the p dot latest value change onto? It changed onto 18. Initially, I had initialized it as 0. And when this function was not invoked, this function was not invoked just because I created an instance of its class, right? It won't be invoked as such. I invoked it. I called on to that function, and the function did its work, and hence it changed the latest value, which is then shown here. Okay? Now, what does self do here? What self does is it takes in your instance variable and replaces it inside the function. That I have this class, this hybrid has this function called as sales, hybrid dot sales, put in the variable p in it. Okay, the instance p in it, and hence it becomes our output. Basically, self is the link. It's a linker in a sense. It's chaining your instance to the methods and functions that have been derived that are present inside of your class. Okay? Alright. Then next we'll move on to method resolution order or MR. Okay. Now, as we saw that we had multiple levels of inheritance here, right? So it kind of becomes tricky when we have several base classes and several level of inheritance. Okay. Now, this is resolved using method resolution order, which is a formal plan of that Python follows when running object methods. Like if you have created these many base classes, inherited classes, which class would be invoked first, which will work first, and so on and so on, we need to see. Okay, so to understand that, we have this. Okay, we have a base class A. Okay, we gave it some value, then we created an inheritance class B, which was inheriting A. Then this class C inheriting A again. Then this class D inheriting both B and C. It is similar to hybrid, right? It is following the same path, and it will somehow look like this. Like A is being inherited by B and C, and which is being B and C are inheriting by D. Okay. Now, if I do d dot num, what do you guys think will happen? You know, if I create an instance of this class and I invoke d dot num, or I just do d dot num, what would be the output? Because that gets confusing, right? Because I haven't created any such variable inside of my class, like attribute or method inside of my d class. but I have it both in A and C, then what would happen? Okay. It gives us the output 5. Why does it not gives us the output 4? It would make us feel like since A is the basest class, like it's the start of each of the other classes, right? It should be giving the output as 4 instead of 5, right? But it's giving me 5 as the output. But what Python does is follows the chain that defines the num. The order followed is that there is D, then it has B, then it has C. Okay, then it has A, then the object. Where object is Python's base object class. Now, in our example, the first class to define or override a previously defined num is C. Okay, like in C only there is that num and it is being overridden, like the num from A is being overridden by the num in C. Why? Because it comes in before of it. Like bottom to top, the hierarchy will when following these kind of attributes or methods or functions, it will go from bottom to top. That's how you'll approach it. That's how Python works in this. Okay. All right, then let's talk about super. Super is a built-in Python function which provides a shortcut for calling base classes because it automatically follows method resolution order or MRO. In simple form, with single inheritance, super can be used in place of the base class name. Okay, I'll show you. See, I have this base class, and this is a single level of inheritance, right? I have my base class. Is it being inherited by this class, right? So instead of name using my name of the base class, my base class, I'm just using my super keyword. Okay, we don't have to pass like the self to super dot init as super handles all of that automatically. And like in a dynamic form, like where we'll have multiple inheritance, like we had in the library class example or this example, what super does is like it can properly manage the methods definitions. And how does it do that? It basically shortens all of this. It's saying that you don't have to worry about it, I'll take care of it. Not C. Here, class A is the base class, B is inheriting A class, C is also inheriting A class, and both A and C has this all numbers are even and some numbers are even. Like they have the truth function, right? Now, this function in this class D is now inheriting both class A and class B and C. So, they are in turn also inheriting class A. Now, here I define truth as num modulus 2 if it's equals to 0, A dot truth, otherwise written super dot truth. Okay. Now I had given it what? I had given it the input of 6. And 6 is divisible by 2. Hence it returns me the value of A dot truth. This part gets invoked, right? See, if you're not sure, I'll say A got invoked. And here I'll say C got invoked. Okay. Use print statements to clarify your doubts or how your code is working. Okay. Now, see, A got invoked, all numbers are even. This got returned. Now, what will happen when the super dot truth gets invoked? I just need to give this, right? C got invoked, super numbers are even. Some numbers are even. When this super function gets invoked, it simply follows whatever proper dynamic chain Python follows without us getting confused. Okay, it will directly give you the answers like, okay, I am not going to be working as you might be thinking me to work as, but I'm just going to follow the chain of command laid down by Python. Okay, that's all for super. All right. Now, as I spoke about init initially, I told you guys that init is a special method or a dunder method. What are these dunder method or special methods? Okay, see, I'll create a list called as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and if I want to run this built-in function on this list, I can run it. Remember, I had created this function, this instance of P, right? What would I get if I run? The object of type hybrid has no length. Now, what does it mean? I'll work on this part itself. What this does is length generally tells you the length, the number of elements inside of it. If I have to guess the length of hybrid, it should be equivalent to the sum of books and comics, right? But there is no length function. Length function is something which is built and present in Python, but it is not something that is present in my built-in class. This is my user-defined class, and it does not have any correlation to length. If I wanted to show an output, what should it show? It should show the sum of books and comics, right? But how would I get to it? How do I work under it? Right? So, to do that, to work for that, to create, to let such kind of what should I say, basic built-in function of Python to work on my hybrid thing, what should I do? I'll create a dunder method. This, what will it do? This length I'm defining, it will return whatever I want and whatever I think the hybrid length would be. I'll just define it as a function. Okay, I'll say self return. It should be self dot books, right? Okay, all right. Now, how will I invoke it? Do I need to invoke it separately or something? I don't need to do any of that. I'll just say my p hybrid. Okay, let's just change the name of this for once. Let's just take as K. My K instance, and I'll give it books and comics value as 20 and 10. Okay. Now I'll ask it to, so what are the values of K dot books and K dot comics? These are the books, and these are the values. Now, what would be the length? Wait a second. 2 more, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Yeah, sorry, I did a mistake there. I like it takes in three keywords, right? Like the type and books and comics. So I forgot to give this. Okay, and if I don't want to give anything, I can just do this also. Okay, sorry, I can't. I'll just let it be hybrid itself. Action and thriller. Let's make it that. Okay. I have given it as action and thriller. I've specified the books and the comics. My book should be 20, my comic should be 10, and my length came as 30. Now, this my length came as 30, right? Now, what if I want to print my instant of K? Can I print like it shows me the location in which this instance has been created. What print usually does is whatever value I've given inside of these parentheses, it takes its string implementation and posts it outside for me to see. Okay, and it gives me as the output to see. But right now, it's not doing anything like that, right? Right now it's just showing me that this is the address in which K is located, but I wanted to print something, right? I wanted to show K, okay, this is not just that, so I would need to create a str function for that. In this function, I'll ask it to return the type of this instance, the type of this instance. So I'll just say self dot type, right? Now it brings us action and thriller. Now there is this very one common function present in Python which we generally use when we want to save memory, and that is called del function. Okay, now this del function can be implemented without even using the dunder functions on my user defined variables. Now if I'll try to do this, it won't work because the name k is not defined because I've deleted this k. But what if I sometime want to pass on a message when I'm deleting something? So I can define the dunder function then. I'll say done has been removed. Okay, now see what happens when I do this. One second. Sorry, it's a return. It doesn't. It won't have a return type. Yeah, I need to print it because what it basically does, it's removing it, right? So when it's removing something from its memory, why would it return something? The function does not have a return type. That this del function does not have a return type, and hence it did not print anything when I did it. When I did the return thing. Now del k has been removed. Okay. So you see that was dunder functions. Dunder function or special functions. These len and str. Str is used basically so that we can give some sort of string to our print function or to whensoever we want to use it, so that we have something as an output for our instance of a user defined class. Okay, so it does not give out the value of the address in which it has been stored at. Okay, I hope you guys understood it, and if you guys have any issues or queries about it, please do post it in the group. And one more thing that I had to tell you guys is for the milestone project for this time, which is going to be coming, we are thinking of introducing you guys to Manim. I'll be sharing the link of the videos from where you guys can learn what Manim is and what exactly you can do with Manim. Now, what we are expecting out of you from this project is a 1 minute video in which you will be explaining any topic that you like, be it from your educational curriculum, like from the EC department curriculum, or your own any favorite subject curriculum which you feel like, okay, I want to make a video on this, I want to do this, I want it to be explained much more properly, and I feel this is the best way to do it. You can do that. The time limit may exceed 1 minute. The time limit can be a bit small than 1 minute, like 50 seconds is still acceptable, but it cannot be like 40 minutes, 45 seconds, or 45 or 40 seconds. It can be acceptable at 50 seconds. not 50 minutes if I had said that earlier. Okay, so we're expecting a 60-second video from you guys and the basics of how to install Manim, how to work on Manim. Everything is present in the videos that I'll be linking in the description below. And hope you guys go through it because we're expecting that you guys get something out of this whole plethora of course. Okay, we're expecting that yes, you guys learn something, you have something to put on your GitHub account, something to post on your LinkedIn on. Okay, so we're hoping that you'll look into it. If you have any queries, ask in the WhatsApp group. Ask us. We'll try to communicate with you as soon as possible. Try to solve your queries as fast as possible. So don't worry about that. Just post your queries, go through it, start working on it. You guys will have a whole week to prepare the project, and we will be accept like the links and the classroom assignment will explain the other details too. In case there are any issues, do reach out to us. We'll help you guys out to the best of our capabilities. And that was all. Thank you so much for attending today's session.